We're cracking open all of the Stranger Things 2 Easter eggs. Now this weekend, Netflix took a return trip to the Upside Down with the release of Stranger Things 2, and if you're anything like us, you just got finished binging all 9 episodes of the hit series. This season, or sequel, if that's what you prefer to call it, was jam-packed with everything fans adored about the first Stranger Things, cranked all the way up to, and say it with us now, 11. We got monsters, we got mayhem, we got government bureaucracy gone mad, and we got lots and lots of sad kids talking earnestly about their sad emotions. But the thing that we got the most of course, was nostalgia. The Duffer Brothers packed in more references, Easter eggs, and homages than you could fit into 100 Ready Player One trailers. Now, trying to identify them all would probably be next to impossible, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to try. So here are the top let's say 3,000 pop culture references from Stranger Things 2, but be forewarned, we are going to be discussing the entire sequel here, so if you don't want to get your mind flayed with spoilers, make sure and turn away right now. Alright, so let's start with an easy one. Ghostbusters. Mike, Lucas, Will, and Dustin rocked some pretty respectable homemade proton packs for Halloween, and it led to one of the funnier moments of the second iteration as Mike and Lucas got into a debate over who should be the team's Winston. What you may have missed is that, much later in the series, Lucas does eventually give into his inner Winston by declaring it Judgment Day, the same thing Winston says to Ray towards the end of Ghostbusters. Another pretty easy inspiration to spot is James Cameron's Aliens, and not just because you have Paul Reiser playing a less than trustworthy corporate stooge. The escalation from one Demogorgon to dozens of Demogorgons is the same move Cameron pulled when he unleashed multiple xenomorphs in an attempt to up the stakes from the first Alien movie. The escape from the Demogorgon swarmed Hawkins' compound also played out like a mini version of Aliens, complete with ominously blinking heat monitors that go dead when a bunch of soldiers meet their untimely end. There's also a little bit of Jurassic Park thrown into the mix as Bob sneaks through the monster-infested corridors to reset the circuit breakers a la Samuel L. Jackson. And speaking of Bob, cast newcomer Sean Astin wasn't the only nod to the Goonies in Stranger Things 2. The Hawkins AV Club kids have always had a bit of a Goonie-ish vibe to them, but they were really letting it show in number 2 as they descended into a winding network of tunnels along with their reluctant older babysitter Steve Harrington. Honestly, we're not quite sure what Steve has to do with the story now that he and Nancy officially broke up, but his inexplicable friendship with Dustin is so damn charming, we can't really complain. Also could be Adventures in Babysitting, I guess. And while we're on the topic of Steve and Nancy, the Halloween party where they split may have had more references per square inch of screen than any other in Stranger Things history. They were dressed as Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay from Risky Business. There was also a John Belushi from Animal House, a Johnny from Karate Kid, and Alex Owens from Flashdance, a Madonna from the Like a Virgin video, and probably dozens more that we haven't spotted yet. All we can say is we want to go thrift shopping in Hawkins because we have no idea how one party could have had so many spot-on costumes pre-Amazon or eBay. Now, Dustin's new pal Dart also comes loaded with references. The baby Demogorgon, or Demo Dog as he's eventually rebranded, is a hodgepodge of homage, starting obviously with Gremlins. The tale of a boy and his strange new pet that molts into something dangerous should be familiar to anyone who's a fan of Joe Dante's 80s classic. There's even the prerequisite gross-out scene when Dart is caught devouring the family cat. But eventually, the Demo Dogs take on shades of the xenomorphs from Aliens, the raptors from Jurassic Park, and even the titular bad dog from Cujo. 11's standalone adventure to the big city breaks away from the typical Stranger Things reference points to indulge in some 80s new wave punk inspiration. The entire episode recalls many of the urban adventure movies from that era, including The Warriors, Repo Man, and even Star Trek IV. But the main thing the episode seems to be referencing may actually come from comic books. Collie's gang of outcasts bring to mind the Morlocks, the underground band of misfit mutants introduced in X-Men 169 in 1983. Now, the gang members themselves also feature a lot of individual references, including one guy named Funshine who seems to really love the Care Bears. And finally, just because if we kept going, we would be here all day, here are a few more big ones. Will's possession by the Mind Flayer has a real Exorcist vibe to it. 11 asking to dress up as a ghost for Halloween in order to hide is obviously something that she learned from E.T. Dustin's snowball duds and hairdo owe as much to Ducky in Pretty in Pink as they do to his new mentor Steve Harrington. And yeah, Max calling herself Mad Max is probably a shout out to Mad Max. Plus, of course, let's not forget the hundreds of movie trailers, commercials, TV show clips, and classic 80s tunes that are littered throughout every episode. But what do you folks think? Are there any Easter eggs that you noticed? And would you want to see more 80s references in Stranger Things 3? Let's discuss. And be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, it is Tuesday. That means it's time for the latest episode of Muskwatch. If you haven't seen Muskwatch, get on it because it's our weekly show where Dan Casey and Kyle Hill break down the best and craziest science and tech news while trying to catch the attention of tech billionaire supervillain Elon Musk. But even better than that is the finale for Bizarre States LA. Make sure and check it out over at projectalpha.com. It's the better show.